Thank you, Your Honor. Now, as is the protocol, the the committee will go line by line insofar as the substitute bill is concerned. Uh, this is primarily for the reason that it will educate this chair and the chairman of the TWD when they will defend the substitute bill in the plenary session. So, under Section 1, this act shall be known as the Motorcycles for Hire Act. Are we agreed insofar as the title of the substitute bill is concerned? DOTR? No. No objections to this? So far as Section 1 of the substitute bill is concerned?
We defer to the guidance of the Mr. Chair. We have no objection, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. From the other resource persons, do you have any comment? Hearing none, so we go to Section 2, Declaration of Policy. And I would just like to read. The state recognizes the importance of transportation in economic development. The recent innovations in technology has opened an opportunity for alternative modes of public conveyance, such as motorcycles for hire, to thrive as a reliable and accessible mode of transportation. However, despite its promise of convenience and fast service, it must be regulated to ensure that the interest of the general public is protected. Thus, the state shall allow the regulated operation of motorcycles for hire to provide the public with an alternative mode of public transportation which is sufficient, safe, secure, and economical. Towards this end, the state shall establish mechanisms and guidelines in regulating all the operational aspects of motorcycles for hire. In all motorcycles, are there any comments from our resource persons? In motorcycles, so far as the declaration of policy is concerned, our resource persons?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, so far as the declaration. Attorney Guadis is recognized.
we just would like to make a comment since in line 3 it says alternative mode of public conveyance. Since this will now be another mode of public transport, may we suggest that the word alternative be changed to additional mode of public conveyance? Just our simple proposal, Mr. Chair.
Ruby? Any objection to the proposal? No objection. The members of the technical working group? No objection.
No objection on the part of TWG, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Yes, Yusek Jevara is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If we're going to change the word alternative in line 5, Mr. Chair, then we suggest to also change the word alternative in line 11 for uniformity, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Yeah, line 11, that's the term. Yeah. Any other comments from the resource persons? None? So we go to the next.
Your Honor, please.
Yes, please identify yourself.
Roberto Martin po, kakabit ng Pasang Basta, Your Honor.
You have the floor.
Pakiulit, sir, Your Honor.
You have the floor. Pwede ka na
Maraming
magsalita.
salamat po. Tungkol po dun sa motorcycle taxi, Your Honor. Mr. Chair, palagay ko ho, sa dami ho ng modo ng transportasyon ngayon, tama na ho siguro yung andyan ng motorcycle taxi, huwag na ho tayong magdagdag. Sapagkat napakabigat na ho ng mga sitwasyon namin sa ngayon. Lahat po kami ay naapektuhan sa public transport, sa PUJ, even buses, taxis, all of us are being affected with this motorcycle taxi. Andiyan na nga po, Mr. Chair, yung door-to-door. From sa bahay po, at sa trabaho, nawawala na rin po ng hanap po ang ating mga kasama sa hanap po yung 3 gulong na tricycle. So, kahapon po ay nagkaroon kami ng pagpupulong sa MMDA, sa opisina ni Chairman Don Artes.
Mr. Martin, let me cut you there.
Yes, sir.
Nandito na po tayo sa pag-tackle, approval ng substitute bill. Were you not invited sa technical working group?
Hindi po kami naimbitahan, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, may
Yes.
we ask the COMSEC to verify if
We'll verify the record, sir. Baka hindi lang naka-attend si Mr. Robert Martin. But we invited public transport, sir, jeepneys.
Mr. Chair, we did not receive any invitation from the technical working group regarding this bill.
Kasi, Mr. Martin, dapat nangyari pa yan dun sa technical working group. Kasi ang dinidiscuss na natin ngayon is line by line provision of the substitute bill. We are under Section 2, the Declaration of Policy. Ang sinasabi po ninyo, hindi na po kailangan ang motorcycle taxi for hire. Yun po yung inyong gist. Di po ba?
Hindi na po, Mr. Chair, kaklaro, hindi na po dapat magdagdag. Yung existing na po, tama na po para sa amin.
Ano po yung sinasabi po yung existing?
Meron na mga existing...
That's only part of the pilot study for your information. Pilot study pa lang, yung tatlo, yung angkas, move it, at saka joyride.
pero
Now, we are putting it into law. Yun ang nangyayari. Pilot study pa lang yun. Pilot study na supposedly to last 6 months, pero na-extend na na-extend in so many years already.
Mr. Chair, kanya po aming sinasabi sa inyo po ngayon, dahil nga yung pilot study na yan, marami na po sila sa ngayon. Yung 3 motorcycle taxi na yan. At sa amin pong pagkakaalam, at naipaparting po namin sa inyo, Mr. Chair, meron pa mga pending applicants tungkol po dito. Kanya po, kami po ay humihiling sa committee ito, sa inyo pong pamumuno, na yung existing na motorcycle taxi, tama na po yun.
Alam niyo po ba yung coverage ng pilot study?
Iyan nga po, Mr. Chair,
Hindi
ang
nga.
problema namin.
Sagutin mo yung tanong ko. Umiiwas
Hindi po.
ka kaagad eh.
Hindi po.
I do not have time kasi sa dami ng agenda ngayon, nag-aalala nga ako na hindi matatapos tong araw na ito eh. Pero yung sinasabi po ninyo, nagrereklamo kayo, marami nang masyado. Bakit? Doon po ba sa Antipolo, sa Rizal, marami na rin ba ito? Doon po sa Sarangani, marami na rin po ba ito? Or are you speaking only of Metro Manila?
Metro Manila po.
Yes. Kasi nandito yung inyo. Di ba? Ang kinukonsider lang ninyo, yung sarili ninyong lugar.
Mr. Chair, meron din po kami mga kabahaging kasapian sa mga lugar na inyong pong binabag.
Yeah, I know. Pero ang problema kasi is sa premise na we do not have enough or a reliable public transport system. Di ba? Would you agree with that?
Mr. Chair, opo, pero yun nga po ang dahilan sa nabanggit po nyo kanina, hindi po ko inaimbitahan sa technical working group.
Kasi sa mga probinsya, wala naman ito eh. It is only in 3 places. Metro Manila, Davao, and Cebu. Ito. At may cap po yung kwan. Bawat lugar. 45,000 in Metro Manila, 9,000 in Cebu, 9,000 in Davao. Yun po yung number for your information. Kaya nga, sinabihan ko yung LTFRB, if ever this bill will be enacted into law, pag-aralan yung tapping system ng bawat lugar where motorcycle taxis will operate. Yes, the Honorable Chua is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I think the concern of Kaobet hindi po dapat dito tinatackle. It should be tackled in the Metro Manila development. So, kasi po, what we are tackling right now is the motorcycle taxi na nagko-concern po sa buong Pilipinas. So, hindi naman natin po dito nakalagay yung limited na ano lang eh. But of course, I understand the concern of Kaobet. But I think para maka-abante po tayo, tingin ko hindi po ito yung proper forum. Just my take, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Chua. Yun nga po yung kwang ko eh. Kasi ayaw ko naman i-declare na out of order si Mr. Martin. Kasi it's already outside the topic that we are discussing this morning. Yes, the Honorable Gutierrez is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, just on this point, siguro po, no, although we're still verifying the attendance of our representatives from the jeepney sector, this notion is not novel, and in fact, I believe the TLOG tackled it under Section 8. So perhaps, Mr. Chair, may I suggest that we consider such points when it comes to in consideration of the LPTRP by the DOTR and the LTFRB, by which point I think that issue would be tackled, Mr. Chair.
What you're trying to say, Your Honor, is that we will tackle it when we go to Section 8.
Mr. Chair, I believe if the rules of procedure will be following is line by line,
Yes.
I think it would be properly addressed at that point.
Thank
Mr.
you.
Chair.
Wala kang objection doon na Mr. Martin. Yung issue mo will be tackled when we tackle Section 8 of the bill. Thank you.
Objection, Your Honor.
Any other comments insofar as Section 2, Declaration of Policy is concerned? None? So we go to Section 3. Definition of terms. So may I ask the body if there are questions about the definition of terms under Section 3, or if there are other terms which should be included to be defined under this bill? Yes, ma'am. Please identify yourself.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. This is Attorney Kanyaba po from Lala Move. Just point of clarification for the definition of MTPP, is this referring to the carriage of passenger only? And if so, maybe we can specify it clearly as such. Because if we go to section F, 3F, on OEPP, if you look at the definition, as far as, let's say, a platform like Lalo Move that facilitates the connection of delivery riders to a user who needs logistics transport, it may not be to facilitate a sale of a goods or products. So I wanted to clarify if that's the intention. MTPP only for carriage of goods, and OEPP would refer to the carriage of cargo. Because this is relevant to, I think, the later section where OEPP will fall under DICT and MTPP will fall under LTFRB jurisdiction.
Mr. Chair, on behalf of the TLBG, I believe that it was specifically defined as such to consider both po, no? Because the MTPP, there are some apps, for instance, that would also have a delivery service component. So as compared to Lazada and Shopee, who are supposed to be linkages between buyer and seller, dun po sila mapupunta sa OEPP. So I think MTPP as defined would actually also consider carriage of goods when such apps consider them, Mr. Chair.
Does that answer your query, madam?
Further clarification, sir.
Yes.
If that's the the answer, sir, MTPP for platform that does delivery only, then we will be considered under MTPP, correct, Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Chair, depending on the business model, I suppose, if I'm not mistaken, Lazada.
Lalo move, sir.
Mr. Chair, for Lala Move, the business model would be directly dealing with consumers for delivery of goods. Tama po ba?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
So between sender and receiver.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Facilitating po. It's similar to a carriage of passenger, only it's only goods specifically.
Mr. Chair, I stand corrected. I now understand where they're coming from. Akala ko po ito sa Lazada. So that would be OEPP. So the distinction is warranted between because the usage of facilitate a contract of carriage under the light of which the context that they're now explaining might be interpreted as carriage of goods also, of which should fall under the ICT. So with that, Mr. Chair, I think they are hinting at a amendment. Is that correct, Mr. Chair?
That's correct po, Mr. Chairman.
So, Mr. Chair, with that, I think it would be okay.
If I may, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, for the definition, motorcycle taxi platform provider applies to those catering passengers. Although there are MTPPs which also cater goods like the Grab. They have passengers. They have so it will fall under MTPP. But for purely goods and parcels, it will fall under online e-commerce platform provider, Mr. Chair.
Clear na po.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, may I be recognized on the same issue?
Yes, please.
Mr. Chair, the representative from Lazada says carriage of goods for the MTPP. Because when you say carriage of goods, that becomes now transportation of goods. They now assume the identity of a common carrier. If that is the case, then the supervision over them would now fall under LTFRB because carriage of goods is the task of a common carrier, and common carriers are under LTFRB, so it would no longer fall under the ICT. That is my take. And there should be a distinction, Mr. Chair, between carriage of goods and parcel. Parcel po yan yung mga pagkain. Goods would refer to, as correctly defined, rectangular box with a appropriate dimension and weight. So on that point also, I'd like to make a distinction, Mr. Chair, later on. But we'll go first to the carriage of goods. I would suggest, Mr. Chair, that at a later point, we designate the carriage of goods to the jurisdiction of the LTFRB, since carriage of goods are the task of common carriers, and common carriers are with LTFRB.
The current situation is that yung carriage of goods under the ICT yung apps, di ba? The ICT.
Mr. Chair, Remedios po yung so more of parcels and mga letters under the ICT.
Under the ICT. Carriage. So ano ang kwan ng
The accreditation of these companies such as LBC, DHL are with LTFRB, since the carriage of goods fall within the definition of a common carrier.
Yeah.
And since these are common carriers, the supervision over them, the accreditation is with LTFRB. It is only the connectivity that is under the supervision of the DICT. That is our take, Mr. Chair.
May I request the ICT and the LTFRB to come up with your amendments to the definitions
Yes, Mr. Chair, we will, Mr.
to
Chair.
have a more definite definition of these phrases?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we will confer with them on a separate meeting and then come up with our proposal to your office, Mr. Chair.
The schedule for the approval of this in this committee is next week. So can you do that? Can you submit your amendments before Wednesday next week?
By Monday, if we can have the meeting tomorrow with the DICT, we should be ready by Monday, Mr. Chair.
Would that be okay with the with the TWG group? Thank you. So, any other clarification on the definition of terms?
Mr. Chair, we have some more clarifications, Mr. Chair.
Yes, you have the floor.
On letter B, motorcycle refers to any two-wheeled motor vehicle without appendages. May we know from the TWG of the House if we refer here to the internal combustion engine, which is common among our motorcycles, or do this include the e-bikes, because e-bikes are also considered as two-wheeled motor vehicles, Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chair, if the definition of the two-wheeled motor vehicles by the LTFRB would include e-vehicles, then I think this would just be in reference lang po, no, to whatever definition that they would have. Admittedly, when the TWG considered this, what we have in consideration are the traditional internal combustion engine powered motor vehicles, but to afford that flexibility, it was only defined as such that it may make in reference to the definition by the LTO. So should the LTO, the LTFRB decide to open up, because under the system that we have proposed, the registration would still be with the LTFRB. So if they would then consider with this definition yung e-vehicles, that they would be giving out yung registration, it would fall upon their agency, Mr. Chair. But to answer the question, Mr. Chair, in consideration of this, it's about flexibility.
Would you agree, LTFRB? Kasi kayo ang magkukan nito eh.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, yes, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, because in addition, in the actual practice po on the ground, the current delivery apps would actually also include sometimes bicycles, sometimes they would have delivery service na naglalakad. So I think the flexibility there is what was being afforded by this definition, Mr. Chair.
But may I?
You agree?
We would have a comment on that because we are here discussing about MC taxi. So, yung sinasabi po nila sir na naglalakad sir may not fall under the law anymore. So, ang gusto lang namin malaman sir is if in your definition, isasama po ba natin ang e-bike sir? Or we just limit it to the internal combustion engine?
Yes, Mr. Chair. So to answer that po, no, just to clarify, the mentioning of yung bicycle or yung naglalakad was just to give an idea of the scope of these MTPPs and OAPPs. So in consideration of that, in the question only of whether ICE is limited to that, it is not limited, Mr. Chair. The definition stands, motorcycle refers to any two-wheeled motor vehicle without appendages. So should the LTFRB then consider, in relation to Section 7 on standards, if they would then consider e-vehicles to be part, then it would be interpreted that way, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, ang fear po natin is if we limit it to ICE only now, and in technology improves and e-vehicles are then considered a normal mode, then we would be hamstringed again, Mr. Chair.
We concur, Mr. Chair. We agree with the observation.
Chairman,
Yes,
if you look
Mr.
at
Chair.
Section 7 of the bill, kasi matatakil natin yan because nakalagay doon yung standards and specifications of motorcycles for hire. Di ba?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Siguro doon ka na mag-raise ng issue.
Noted po, Mr. Chair. Yes po, Mr. Chair.
Di ba?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Before we proceed, please allow me to recognize the presence of the Honorable Robert Raymond Estrella, representing Abono Party List. Welcome po kayo. So any other issue insofar as Section 3, definition of terms, is concerned?
Mr. Chair, may I again be recognized?
Please.
On the definition of operator as against rider, operator in the definition, it refers to person in whose name the motorcycle for hire is registered, while rider refers to the person who is driving the motorcycle for hire. In the concept of an MC taxi, the rider is itself the operator. So I think this should be merged together in our own suggestion, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, the consideration of the history here was that there was actually a one measure that proposed that a single operator may have a multiple fleet. But seeing as we are now adopting a one rider, one operator framework, I think that is a welcome suggestion, Mr. Chair.
Well, we haven't come to that point yet where we will approve yung one rider, one vehicle, or one motorcycle. We have not come to that yet. Maybe we'll discuss that when we in the sections in the coming sections we will be able to see that.
Agreed, Mr. Chair. In that case, a contingent na lang po siya.
Yes.
No? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Yes.
Yes,
please
Mr. Chair.
identify. Mr. Lim.
Yeah. Doon po sa section 16, ito pong letter E, multi-homing refers to an approach where operator may accredit particular motorcycle for hire to more than motorcycle platform. Mr. Chair, matagal na namin sinasabi.
Section ano?
Section 7, section 16, Mr. Chair.
Section 16?
Line 16, E. Section 3 po.
Section 3, letter E.
Yeah po, opo. Tama po.
Yeah.
O,
Ano ang issue mo rito, Iyo?
Ito pong multi-homing na naman. Kasi po, noong pa po namin sinasabi sa mga pasirings natin na yung pong ito po sa motorcycle taxi passengers po, yung nagmamaneho, na dapat po hindi po mapayag at hindi pinapayagang palipat-lipat yung isang driver sa 3 o 7 o anong kumpanya. Kasi po ang nangyayari po ngayon, kaya po hanggang ngayon hindi maibigay sa atin yung numbers of motorcycle taxi na tumatakbo because nagmumulti-homing nga po. Ibig sabihin po, Mr. Chair, pag ako po ay nasa Grab o nasa Move It, pwede po ako lumipat sa Angkas, pwede ako lumipat sa Joyride. So dito po nagkakaroon kami ng problema dahil pag tinatanong namin ilan ba talaga ang dapat na tumatakbo, 45,000, hindi daw po napupuno dahil sa multi-homing. So namatay na po yung ipinaglaban natin na kaya tayo naglagay ng motorcycle taxi para makatulong dun sa mga walang trabaho. Mapuno yung 45 para po mabilang din namin kung hanggang 45,000 lang ang kailangan tumakbo sa Metro Manila.
Mr. Chair, may I be recognized? Because we're just on the definition of terms, I think that can be best tackled later on the subsequent provisions. May we suggest that we just stick to the definition of the terminologies initially, Mr. Chair, to proceed with our discussion.
Thank you. Mr. Lim, definition pa lang ito. Ang pinag-usapan, may objection ka ba sa pag-define ng multi-homing system?
Tapa po. After po siguro, nabanggit ko lang po dahil nakita ko na ayoko makaligtaan, baka hindi ako mabalikan. Thank you.
Mas matanda naman siguro ako sa iyo kaya mas matatandaan mo kasi sa akin. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'm sorry. Excuse me, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please identify yourself.
Ronald Gustilo po from Digital Pinoys.
From?
Digital Pinoys po.
Yes, you have the floor.
Magka-clarify lang po ako, Mr. Chair, doon po sa Section 3, letter C, kung yung food po ba ay kasama na rin po doon sa goods. Hindi po kasi nababanggit dito sa bill yung pong food delivery. Nandun lang po tayo sa goods and yung passengers.
Mr. Chair, I think I can answer that because you just designated me with the DICT to come up with our definition of goods and parcel, which we will submit to you by Monday. I think that can be best addressed at a later time if
No.
DICT and I can thresh out the matter.
you can state the definition that you have. You can answer the query of the good gentleman there.
Yes, good morning, sir. The matter that you raise right now will be threshed out in a separate meeting with the DICT for us to be able to thresh out the distinction between goods and parcel. Because if the delivery is for goods, it comes within the ambit of the LTFRB as a common carrier. But if this is a parcel, it will now be under the DICT. Now we just have to distinguish now with the DICT what are considered as goods, what will be considered as parcels. Then we can define now and delineate the functions of each department.
Can you submit that before Wednesday also?
Of course, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any question on this, yung mga membro ng TWG? Because the ICT and LTFRB will come up with definition kung ano yung goods, ano yung food parcels. Okay, thank you. Any other issue? Section 3?
Mr. Chair, last issue for Section 3. In the definition of motorcycle for hire, it refers to motorcycle duly registered as such under this act and used to carry passenger or goods on a for-hire basis. May we suggest that the word instead of for hire, for a fee or compensation, which is a more detailed term rather than for hire, if the committee will accept.
For a fee?
Section 3C,
Yeah.
yung definition po ng motorcycle for hire.
Yeah. Or
Instead of
goods.
for hire, on goods on a for a fee or compensation.
Fee or compensation?
Yes, because this is delivery, so it's for a fee or a compensation. If yun lang po sa amin, that's just our take
Mr. Chair.
from LTFRB.
May we ask, Mr. Chair, the representative LTFRB, what would be the implications between these two definitions? Just for the clarity of all the members here, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, Paul Austria, Mr. Chair from LTFRB. Now, just to distinguish po yung ibig sabihin ng for hire and for a fee or compensation. Now, one of the pag po kasi sinabing for hire, ibig sabihin yun pong motor ay or yung vehicle hina-hire. Now, for sometimes po ginagamit po kasi yan based on our experience, the passengers would claim that they did not hire the vehicle. Only nagbayad lang po sila ng panggas, nag-contribute po sila ng panggas, pang-toll. So, in that case po, nandun po yung difference. Although, technically, it is the same effect. We just believe that yung pong for a fee or compensation is more appropriate po.
Yes, the Honorable Chu is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, ba't hindi po natin isama lahat? For hire or for a fee or for compensation? So para kung ano man yung interpretation ng kung sino man yung ano, at least pasok lahat.
Ilabas. Yes.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chairman, I think Representative Chua is correct. It doesn't matter kung ano yung natanggap nung vehicle o yung driver. Sa tingin ko, for gas, para sa toll gate o hinire, gagamitin din niya yung oras at saka yung sasakyan para ibiyahe ang isang sasakyan, di ba? So, let's not split hairs. Let's just call it, basta pag in-engage mo na yung serbisyo nung particular service. Diba? Any service.
Attorney Guadis,
Yes, we agree.
you are a lawyer, right?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
What is the legal difference between for hire and for a fee?
Technically, Your Honor, none except that yung sa in the parlance of the transport industry, pag sinabing for hire, you hire the entire motor vehicle. In some instances kasi sir, kinokontrata lang, binabayaran lang yung gasolina. So, to make it more specific, nilalagay na lang namin a fee or compensation. But technically, pareho po yan, Mr. Chair. So we submit to the discretion of the chair.
See, I do not see. I do not see any difference between for hire and for a fee.
We submit, Mr. Chair.
Simpleng-simple lang yung pinagtatalunan natin. Maybe you can place that in your IRR. Di ba? Kasi ang
Yes, Mr.
provision
Chair.
of law ngayon itong pag-uusapan natin eh.
We submit. We agree, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. So, any issue under section 3?
For LTFRB, wala na po, Mr. Chair.
Yes, please identify yourself.
Good morning, George Halandoni po of UB Express Alliance, under Codex din po.
Yeah, what is your
Mr. Chair, nakalagay po kasi sa motorcycle for hire natin na definition is used to carry passengers. Hindi isa lang yung pasahero. So siguro I wish to imply na baka kasi kung hindi siya specifically malagay na isa lang ang sakay, because of this kind of definition, baka magsakay ito ng mas marami na nangyayari ngayon sa mga motorcycle natin. So siguro yun lang naman po yung pino-point out ko, kung sa definition dapat lang ilagay na isa lang po yung pasahero.
LTFRB?
Mr.
Comment.
Chair, this is just a matter of semantics. We agree because in the concept of a motorcycle taxi, dapat talaga isa lang ang pasahero,
Yes.
Mr. Chair.
Even if you ask the manufacturers, ang motorcycle, isang rider, isang sakay lang.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Di ba?
Definitely, Mr. Chair.
Meron nga batas na kwan eh. Maski yung umaangkas, hindi pwede yung tao na hindi umaabot yung paa niya dun sa footrest. There's a law. Author nga ako nun eh. Di ba? Meron ding nagsasabi dun sa batas na yon, bawal yung cellphone. Pero nakikita mo ngayon yung mga delivery kwan, nandun yung cellphone sa harap. In violation of that law.
Yes, that's the anti-distracting law, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Anti-Distracted Driving Act. Author ako nun eh. Diba? So any other issue? So we go to the next section. For the information of everybody, if we cannot finish tackling the provisions, we stop at 12:30 for you to take lunch, and then we resume at 1 o'clock. Kasi marami ng comment na ang pangit daw tinitignan yung mga resource persons sa mga congressmen ay sumusubo habang nagkakaroon ng hearing. So, para wala na silang masabi, we suspend at 12:30, we eat lunch, and then we resume at 1 o'clock. Okay? Para walang masabi na yung mga nanonood po sa atin. So we go to section 4, the scope and application. This act shall apply to all aspects of the operation of motorcycles used as a common carrier. Very specific. Common carrier. For the transportation of passengers or goods. For this purpose, goods shall include parcels and mail. This act shall not apply to motorcycles directly owned by entities and used exclusively in the line of business for delivery of goods and other services. Any comment, LTFRB?
For Section 4, Mr. Chair, we have no comment.
masesettle nyo na yung issue yung jurisdiction ng parcels at saka kwan goods.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
We reserve the comment at a later time after our meeting with the ICT, preferably Friday or Monday, Mr. Chair.
Any comments from the service providers? Dito sa scope and application, wala kayong issue? Okay. Hearing none, we go to the next. Section 5, motorcycles for hire as common carriers. The operation of motorcycles for hire is imbued with public interest. As such, the same shall be governed by the applicable provisions of the Civil Code of the Philippines and other pertinent laws, rules, and regulations on common carriers, particularly on the required degree of diligence to be observed in the course of transporting passengers or goods, and on the presumption of culpability in case of breach of a contract of carriage. MTPPs and OEPPs should exercise extraordinary diligence in the accreditation and supervision of motorcycle for hire operators and riders operating under their platforms. LTFRB, DOTR, any?
Mr. Chair, may I again comment on this? It is, number one, Mr. Chair, it is suggested that the first sentence, which starts with the operation and ends with contract of carriage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, should be one paragraph because this refers to the operation of the motorcycle taxi. While the subsequent sentence, MTPP and OE, that starts with the word MTPP and OEPP should be second paragraph because this refers to the supervision of MTPP and OEPP. Yun lang, sir. We have other observations, Mr. Chair. Number one, in the exercise of the diligence. In the accreditation, Mr. Chair, this should only be a regular diligence. But in the supervision of the motorcycle for hire operators, this is where the extraordinary diligence should come in. So there should be a demarcation line, sir. Sa pag-accredit, regular diligence. Sa supervision, extraordinary diligence.
Mr. Chair?
TWG group?
Mr. Chair, on that point, no, I think the distinction of whether or not we should include in one paragraph, I think we are open to that suggestion and to highlight the difference between the two. So the TWG would gladly accept that. But Mr. Chair, on the consideration of extraordinary diligence in accreditation supervision, may we ask, Mr. Chair, the LTFRB, how come, what is the basis for the notion that accreditation should only be ordinary diligence?
Mr. Chair, sa accreditation kasi, you only approve the application of the person. The person comes to you with an application, so you accredit him as your rider. However, in the day-to-day operations, you see to it that this rider performs his functions in accordance with the law in what I call the diligence, as far as not only the diligence of a good father of a family, but diligence as far as human foresight can see. That should apply in the supervision of these motorcycle for hire operators. Yung day-to-day operations na ho, dapat doon pumasok yung extraordinary diligence. That is just our take, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, while I understand the apprehension of the LTFRB, it is, at least in the opinion of us as members of TWG, that extraordinary diligence should also include accreditation, Mr. Chair, because I believe that a lot of harm can be avoided with extra measures when it comes to accreditation. We want to prevent accidents. Mahirap po siguro, Mr. Chair, if we only allow for ordinary diligence and accreditation and then only exert extraordinary diligence on supervision. So that's just the stand of the TWG, but of course we leave it open to the body if they would agree. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you. The famous SK Estrella is recognized.
I have just one comment. tama yung sinabi ni Representative Gutierrez. Mas importante rin kasi yung accreditation. Doon tayo nagkakaproblema eh. Bawa meron tayong gustong i-blacklist na rider. Galing po sa isang kumpanya. Habitual, notorious. This might pose a danger to the riding public. Now, siyempre, tatanggalin po ng kumpanya. Sabihin nila, ito, rider na to, si Arrogancia. Example ka lang. Hindi ko naman sinabi. Example lang. Siya ho ay madalas nahuhuli, natitikitan dahil beating the red light, mapasok po sa one-way, reckless driving. Siyempre, pag tinanggal po ng isang kumpanya, let's say Company A, tinanggal na si Arrogancia, mag-a-apply yan sa Company B. Doon dapat ang extraordinary diligence ng accreditation. Makikita, bakit ka ba tinanggal sa Company A na pinanggalingan mo? Yun lang ho. Ipapakita nyo yung record. So if you just accredit, pasok kayo ng pasok, ay hindi ho pwede. Pati ho yung riding community na tinatawag nilang mga kamote riders, talagang hindi ho natin pwede mag-proliferate dito sa ating kalsada. Magkakaroon ho tayo ng anarchy. Yun lang, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Your Honor. From the service providers, kasi kayo ang kwan dito affected. Any comments? Wala. Attorney Guadis, one of your objectives doon nga sa inyong kwan TWG, di ba? Your number one objective is passenger safety and security.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Bakit kayo sumisiway doon? The more or the stricter yung ating criteria, hindi ba mas maganda para sa riding public?
We submit, Mr. Chair, the
Kasi taking into consideration the statistics, the most number of accidents, motorcycle. The most number of fatal accidents, motorcycle. So why can't we exercise extraordinary diligence? Lahat ng aspeto ng motorcycle taxi for hire. Di ba?
we submit to the wisdom of the chair. We agree with Mr.
No,
Chair.
that's not my wisdom. That's my opinion.
Agree po ako, Mr. Chair.
Kasi from the very start, alam mo naman na ang number one consideration ko rito sa bill na ito is always the safety of the passengers. Yun yung pang. Kasi data-driven yung aking kwan eh. Number one accident, motorcycle. At saka kayo na nakikita nyo naman yung kwan eh. Hindi pagsunod ng mga motorcycle riders natin sa ating batas eh. Huh? Oh. Why don't we come up with stricter measures to control this in order to ensure the safety of our passengers?
I agree, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. The Honorable Salvador Plato, representing the 6th District Province of Bulacan, is recognized. Thank you. So, we go to Section 6. COMSEC, before we proceed to that, please take note of the observation of the LTFRB insofar as paragraphing is concerned. Mr. Chair? Yes, the Honorable Chu is recognized.
Thank you. But, Mr. Chair, I totally agree with your observation and the observation of Congressman Estrella. In fact, if we will read the first paragraph of Section 5, it says, the operation of motorcycles for hire is imbued with public interest. Hence, we should take extra precautionary measures in accrediting MTPPs and OEPPs. Dahil yun na nga po yung point eh. It is imbued with public interest.
Thank you, Your Honor. So we go to Section 6, registration of motorcycles for hire. A motorcycle intended to be used as a motorcycle for hire must be duly registered with the Land Transportation Office in accordance with the requirements set forth in Section 7 of this Act. The LTO shall ensure the roadworthiness of all motorcycles for hire before their registrations or any renewal thereof. LTFRB, comment?
For Section 6, we have no comment, Mr. Chair.